He destroyed his own family. Solsos curse. Before Solso died, he screamed every night. Not because he was sick, not because he was poor, but because he said invisible hands were dragging him across the room, throwing him against the wall. This was a man who once had money, respect, a beautiful wife, bright children. So, how did a successful man end up terrified in his own bedroom? How did pleasure turn into poverty? How did enjoyment turn into curses? And how did his own son become a copy of his destruction? They used to whisper in the village, like father, like son. But what if I told you this story is not just about one man? What if I told you it is about choices, about secrets, about the things we do in darkness that slowly destroy everything we love? This is the story of Soso, the man who had everything and lost it one woman at a time. Stay with me because before this story ends, you might see yourself in it. In the quiet town of Ogbemudia, there once lived a man called Soso. Soso was handsome, tall, smooth-talking, and always well-dressed. When he walked into a room, people turned. When he spoke, people listened. He worked for a big oil servicing company and earned more money than most men in the community. His salary came on time, his bonuses were heavy, opportunities surrounded him like harmattan dust. And yet, Soso died a poor man long before he was buried. Soso's wife, Mama Ariga, was everything a man prayed for. She was calm. She was beautiful in a quiet way. She respected him. She managed the home with wisdom, prayed at dawn while others slept. Mama Ariga believed her husband would one day build a mansion, send their children abroad, and become a pillar in the community. But Soso had another love. It started small: office romance, a drink after work, a weekend meeting. He told himself he deserved enjoyment because he worked hard. But enjoyment became addiction. He rented apartments for girlfriends in secret, bought phones, wigs, expensive lace, and paid hotel bills that could have completed the roofing of his uncompleted house. He hid two business shops he bought from his wife and children. Instead of using them to build a family wealth, he used them to entertain women who called him daddy. At home, there was shouting, there was hunger, the school fees were unpaid. The house he started building stood like a mockery. Blocks exposed to rain, iron rods rusting under the sun. Neighbors whispered, "Is this not so that earns big money? Why is his house still like that?" Mama Ariga aged before her time. Her once bright face grew tired. Respect left her voice. She became bitter, angry, suspicious. a shadow of the woman she used to be. Wealth turned to rags, respect to gossip, peace turned to chaos. One evening, Solso met a young woman called Nenye. She was beautiful, different, and too calm. Her eyes carried something ancient, something deep like the ocean at midnight. She told him softly, "Be careful how you treat me." He laughed, ha 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 ha, spent heavily on her, promised marriage, promised heaven, and assured that he would leave his wife for her. Then one day, he disappeared from her life, blocked her number, stopped sending money, and started dating another girl. But Nenye was no ordinary woman. People later whispered she was affiliated with the Marine Kingdom, the ancient Marine Kingdom. One night, after Soso returned from a club, he felt something strange. The air in his room was heavy, cold. He lay on his bed. Then suddenly, bam, 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 his body flew from the bed and hit the wall. There was no one there. Again, bam! He screamed. Mama Rega rushed in. Soso was shaking, sweating profusely while pointing at the wall. "They are here! They are here! They are here!" he screamed. No one saw anything. Soso kept screaming that shadows were dragging him, slapping him, throwing him like a rag against the invisible walls. From that night, peace left him. He would wake up at 2 a.m. shouting. He said women with wet hair stood at the corner of his room. He said he felt someone pressing his chest at night. The doctors found nothing. The pastors prayed endlessly. Native doctors collected the monies he had. Nothing changed. His businesses and shops closed one after the other. The contracts stopped coming. His company downsized. And he was retrenched. A once respected man became a fearful, trembling shadow. His son, Arega, the first son, grew up watching everything. Children learn more from what we do than what we say. Arega watched his father lie to women, watched his mother cry, watched money flow out and never stay. So, when Arega grew into a young man, he copied what he knew and saw his father do. He was charming like his father, reckless. And by the age of 25, he had impregnated 3 different women. 3! The community erupted, like father, like son. They said it openly. They laughed when Arega passed. No respect, no honor. Even the younger boys mocked him. One of the girls he impregnated stood at the market one afternoon and screamed, "Your father destroyed lives. Now you are taking after his footsteps." The words cut deep. Arega began to see the mirror. He saw how his father's lifestyle had become a curse upon the family. His sisters struggled to marry because people said their family carried disgrace. Mama Arega stopped attending women meetings. Soso, now sick and broken, sat outside the unfinished house like a man waiting for judgment. One night, he called Arega to his side. "My son," his voice was weak. "I thought I was enjoying life," he said. Rather, I was digging my own grave. He began to cry and wail. A man who once laughed at warnings. I hid money from your mother. I hid my businesses, investments, and I thought the women would make me feel powerful. Instead, they drained me all. Oh, my son, he lamented. He held his chest and muttered, I destroyed my home with my own hands. Ariga looked at his father and saw not a strong man, but a warning. Solsos died months later, not rich, not respected, not remembered for success. Rather, people remembered him as the man who chased women and lost it all. Years passed. Ariga stood one day before his three children from different mothers. He remembered his father being thrown against the walls. He remembered the gossip, the unfinished house, and he asked himself, will I continue this story or end it? Because sometimes curses are not from the marine kingdom. Sometimes they are patterns. Sometimes there are no demons or shadows in the night. Sometimes they are habits we refuse to break. Solso was not destroyed in one day. He was a man who was destroyed by the small choices he repeated daily. One lie at a time, one woman at a time, one neglected responsibility at a time. And by the time he realized it, it was too late. Now, if you were Ariga, would you repeat your father's story? Or would you become the man that finally breaks the cycle? Because life does not punish immediately. It waits and then it collects. Think about it. The end of the story. Kindly subscribe to my channel. And here are the morals of the story. At the end, Ariga stood in front of his father's grave one quiet evening. The wind was gentle. The unfinished house still stood behind him. Old blocks, rusted rods, silent testimony of wasted years. He looked at the grave and whispered, Father, your story will not be mine. For the first time in his life, Ariga made a decision that was not driven by pride, pleasure, or pressure. He called the three men he had impregnated and abandoned. He apologized, not with empty words, but with action. Began to walk seriously, stopped chasing women and philandering, sold his car to pay school fees, sought counseling and help. He rebuilt a relationship with his mother. It was not easy. The gossip did not stop immediately, but slowly the respect began to return. Not because he was perfect, but because he changed. And one day, as he stood in front of his own children, he told them the truth. My father taught me what not to become. The cycle ended with him. And the unfinished house, he completed it. Not as a monument of shame, but as a reminder that broken foundations can still be rebuilt. The moral of this story: character is greater than income. In other words, a high salary without discipline leads to silent poverty. Pleasure without responsibility destroys destiny. What feels sweet today can poison you tomorrow. The family you neglect today becomes the pain you face tomorrow. Children copy what they see, not what they are told. Curses are sometimes patterns of bad choices repeated across generations. It is never too late to change, but the earlier you do, the less damage you cause. Respect lost through immorality is harder to regain than money. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think about life, family, and the kind of legacy you are building, kindly like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Because sometimes a story is not just a story, it is a mirror, and someone out there needs to see themselves in it. Thank you for staying with us.
Of course.